There is a strip of water 21 miles wide. Every single day, roughly 20% of all the oil traded on Earth passes through it. One country controls the northern coastline. One country has the missiles to close it within hours. And that country has been saying for decades exactly what it would do if pushed far enough. The strait is called Hormuz. The country is Iran. And the pressure building around that strip of water right now is unlike anything since the Cold War. If it breaks, the global economy breaks with it. This is not a story about religion, not about ideology. This is a story about geography, about oil, about three countries on a collision course none of them can fully stop, and about what happens to the rest of the world when they finally run out of room. Look at where Iran actually sits on a map. It is not just a country, it is a geographic fortress. Mountains to the north, desert to the east, Iraq and Turkey to the west. And to the south, the Persian Gulf, the most important body of water on Earth. Every major land route connecting Central Asia to the Arab world runs past it. Every pipeline from the oil fields, every sea lane from the Gulf to global markets, all of it moves either through Iran or directly past its shore. There is no way to move energy from the Persian Gulf to the world without Iran's permission, or Iran's restraint. That is not an accident. It is why every major power for 2 centuries has tried to control this country. And it is why what happens here will affect everyone. Now here is the first thing that should make you stop and think. Iran has been under crushing economic sanctions for over 40 years, cut off from global banking, blocked from technology, restricted from selling oil. The squeeze has been so severe that ordinary Iranians cannot reliably access medicine. And yet, closer to a weapon than at any point in history. How does a broke, isolated country build all of that? The answer is simple and alarming. The sanctions never cut off the one thing that actually matters: oil. Iran kept selling. Through China. Through shadow tankers with no flags. Through middlemen across 3 continents. The money kept flowing, and every dollar went the same direction. Not into hospitals, not into schools, into missiles. Now look at who is watching all of this from the other side of the water. Israel is roughly the size of New Jersey. No strategic depth. No room to absorb a mistake. A nuclear-armed Iran does not present the same kind of threat to Israel that the Soviet Union presented to America. The distances are not hours. They are minutes. There is no time for diplomacy once the missiles leave the ground. Israeli military planners have been running scenarios for years. How do you destroy a nuclear program buried hundreds of meters underground in reinforced concrete, spread across multiple sites? Some of them inside mountains. The answer, according to every credible assessment, is that Israel cannot do it alone. Israel needs America. And America has spent 20 years trying to avoid being needed. The United States has 2 carrier strike groups that can reach the Gulf in days. It has bombs capable of reaching Fordow. It has everything required to end Iran's nuclear program in weeks. But capability is not the same as willingness. After Iraq, after Afghanistan, after 2 decades and trillions of dollars and thousands of lives, the American public wants nothing to do with another Middle East war. Every president since 2003 has tried diplomacy. The 2015 nuclear deal, the 2018 withdrawal, the failed renegotiation, the stalled talks, the same cycle repeating while the centrifuges keep spinning. Iran now has enough enriched uranium for multiple nuclear devices. It has delivery systems that can reach Israel, Saudi Arabia, and American bases across the region. The only thing standing between now and an Iranian nuclear weapon is one decision, a decision that can be made in weeks. So imagine that someone decides to stop waiting. The strike happens. Israeli jets, possibly with American support, hit the main nuclear sites. The bunkers at Fordow are penetrated. Natanz is destroyed. The program is set back by years. Then what? Hezbollah activates in Lebanon. 70,000 rockets hit northern Israel. Precision missiles target Tel Aviv. Ben Gurion Airport comes under fire. The Iron Dome, which is genuinely extraordinary, is not designed for this volume. It gets overwhelmed. At the same time, Iranian-backed forces in Iraq fire on American bases. The Houthis in Yemen move to close the Bab el-Mandeb, the second critical choke point connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. Iranian fast boats and submarine drones swarm the Persian Gulf. A single successful strike on a supertanker near Hormuz and insurance rates spike overnight. Tankers stop moving. The oil stops moving. Within days, prices double. Within weeks, Japan, South Korea, and large parts of Europe face supply shortages. Supply chains that were already fragile after the pandemic crack again. Inflation spikes. Governments that were already unpopular face revolts. And then China makes its move. Not with missiles, not with troops. China does not need to fire anything. China buys more Iranian oil than anyone. It has invested billions in Iranian infrastructure. It signed a 25-year strategic partnership with Iran that includes military provisions. And it has made clear in every diplomatic channel that American military dominance in the Gulf is a direct threat to Chinese interests. If America is visibly responsible for a catastrophe that cuts global oil supply, if the global South watches the Middle East burn because of an American decision, China does not need to win a battle. It just needs to wait while America loses the argument. This is the part of the story that almost nobody talks about. The Iran question is not really about Iran. It is about who controls the architecture of the global economy for the next 50 years. American power rests on two things: military strength and the dollar. The dollar's global role rests partly on oil being priced in dollars. Oil is priced in dollars partly because America protects the sea lanes oil travels. If those lanes become contested, if the cost of protecting them keeps rising, the whole foundation starts to shift. And here is the deepest part of this. Iran knows all of this. Iran has known it for decades. The strategy of building proxy armies, of threatening Hormuz, of advancing the nuclear program just far enough to create leverage without crossing the line that would justify annihilation, that is not recklessness. That is calculation. Stay just dangerous enough that no one can ignore you. Stay just short of the line that justifies your destruction. Survive. For 45 years. It has worked. The question now is whether it can keep working. Because the margins are shrinking on every side. Israel is running out of patience. The Iranian program is running out of time before it crosses the final threshold. American politics make diplomacy harder every election cycle. The window that was already narrow is closing. And while all of this plays out at the top, ordinary people keep paying. Iranian families who cannot get medicine. Israeli children who grow up running to shelters. Yemeni civilians caught between Houthi rockets and Saudi airstrikes. Iraqi communities watching their country used as a battlefield by everyone but Iraqis. The people making these decisions are not in those shelters. That is the oldest story in history, and the most dangerous one still running in real time. Right now, the distance between where this situation is and where it breaks open is not measured in years. It may be measured in decisions. One cabinet vote in Tel Aviv. One Iranian test that crosses a line. One American president who concludes that waiting costs more than acting. One field commander who believes he is preventing a war by starting one. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide. The distance between the world we have now and a world reshaped by what happens in that water is smaller than that. And the most frightening part, everyone who could stop this can see where it is heading. They have the intelligence. They understand the consequences. They know what the next step leads to, and they are still moving toward each other. History is full of wars nobody wanted, conflicts that began with a single miscalculation, disasters that seemed impossible right until they happened. The strait is still open. For now.